The federal government recently announced more than $9 million in funding for the upcoming North American Indigenous Games in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia Liberal MP Jaime Battiste was there and joined our Dennis Ward to discuss the funding.
Mr. Battiste, appreciate you taking some time for us today. Can you tell us what you anticipate this money might be used for?
Well, the North American Indigenous Games is going to bring in 6,000 athletes from all across North America, Indigenous athletes. The $9 million that we've announced today is part of the overall contribution of the federal government towards this. It's taking care of the accommodations for the athletes, the cultural events that we're having, a lot of the events, a lot of the costs in which for the athletes, some of the elders that are coming in. It's basically also to make sure that we kept the games running. It was originally supposed to go in 2020, but because of the pandemic, we had to put it off. And so this is part of the overall contributions to the federal government to ensuring that NAIG is a successful event in Halifax.
Well, I'm excited for NAIG, and I'm in Winnipeg, and I believe this is the first time it's being held in Atlantic Canada. So how exciting is that for the region?
It's very exciting, and actually I was my first North American Indigenous Games that I went to was in Winnipeg in 2002 as a basketball player.
Nice.
And I saw how great it was there, just the amount of pride and the amount of people all in one area. But for the Atlantic, we've been really trying to bring North American Indigenous Games as a dream for at least 10 years now. So for us, it's an amazing thing to have this many Indigenous athletes coming into Halifax and to be taking part in all of the events, the athletic events from lacrosse to fastball to basketball, but also the cultural music. You get to get a little bit of the flavor of the Mi'kmaq culture and music that we're very well known for. And so it's just an exciting time for athletes, exciting time for the coaches, and I can tell from the announcement today just how anxious people are to get it underway.
Oh, well, as somebody who was a former competitor in the games, why do you think it's important to support Indigenous youth in sports competitions like this one?
Well, I think that we've seen, this is part of the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action. Four of the calls to action, 87 to 91, are all talking about Indigenous sports. And I think Willie Littlechild was really influential in that part, and just saying, when we're teaching sports, you learn so much about teamwork, you learn so much about who you are, you learn so much about overcoming adversity. And as Indigenous youth in communities, it's really important to give Indigenous youth that sense of team, that sense of, if we work hard in something that we're going to achieve. And I think that I've learned so much in my life as a result of sports, just in terms of how to be a better person. And I think the sports, especially team sports, teaches you all kinds of amazing things. And I think that's why a major reason why it's integral to the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action. A big part of this is promotion of sports and athletics.
Well, I'm sure you'll be attending or at least watching part of the games. Any sports that you'll be watching a little bit more closely?
You know what? The Mi'kmaq are really fond of their fastball. We've got fastball tournaments. That's the whip pitch with the softballs. The lacrosse, I was a former lacrosse player. I'm definitely going to be there. I'm looking forward to it. You couldn't keep me away from there. I know that we got members of parliament coming from all across Canada to be a part of this. They're excited for it, and we just can't wait for the games to get underway.
Me either. MP Battiste, appreciate you taking the time for us here to talk about this.
Appreciate you having me.